Stephen Howson, Full-Time Devils, welcome to the live preview for Manchester United and Southampton, the EFL Cup final. I am delighted to be joined by Paul from Rentcast, Statman Daddy, and Adam Nicola. What's going on, lads?
Well, I'm just waiting for Dave's reaction to that. No reaction.
No reaction.
I see Dave. Howson says it's okay, yeah, but I can't.
No, it's not okay at all. I'm a bit upset.
Dave, no one cares. We're here to talk about the football. That's what we're here to talk about, not your monikers. Right, so is it a season-defining trophy win if we lift the EFL Cup? Jose Mourinho likes it. He likes to get a trophy in early in his reign. He absolutely loves the EFL trophy. He's won it 3 times already. Can he make it a 4th? Paul, what do you reckon? Is it a season-defining moment?
I mean, it can't be considered a season-defining moment because if you think about looking back at the end of the season, are we going to judge Mourinho's success or otherwise by whether or not he beat Southampton on Sunday? Absolutely not. The question is much broader. It will be a nice bonus if we win, and I think there are some supplementary benefits around the team developing the winning habit and the kind of just that rhythm of trophies, which is what Fergie did in the kind of period just before we started winning the league. You know, getting used to, it just becomes a habit. We go to Wembley, we win stuff, but our season doesn't hang on it one way or another, I don't think.
Dave, we saw Louis van Gaal lift the FA Cup and finish 5th. That obviously wasn't enough for him, despite it being a pretty defining moment, winning the FA Cup. We haven't won it for so long. Is it going to go the same way with Jose Mourinho? If he gets the EFL trophy and he comes 5th, do you think he'll be shown the door? Do you think it's defining enough?
No, I think it's absolutely fine. I think it's a momentum builder. I think if Mourinho did just win the EFL Cup and United finished 5th in the season, United would be silly to get rid of him. The form that United have shown in recent weeks, the football they're playing, some of the link-up play with some of the players have been fantastic. So whether or not Mourinho wins everything this season, it doesn't matter too much. It's all about Mourinho in his second season. We've seen it Inter Milan, we've seen it at Real Madrid, that he just comes alive in that second season and he gets results, he wins titles. So I'm not too bothered. The improvements that United team have shown this season is absolutely fantastic for me, and the League Cup will be the start of a historic treble.
Right, we're all talking about winning this here, Adam, but what if we don't win it? Are you bothered?
It's not going to be a historic treble, let's get that right. That's already happened. Any treble has to consist of the European Cup. Otherwise, it's just known as a triple. But basically, I'm looking forward to this game on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think it defines our season because if you lose a game in February, how can that define your whole season? Like, it shouldn't be defining your whole season. And also, I think we could win this trophy and still end the season in May feeling very flat if we were to not finish in the top 4, get knocked out of the Europa League and all that. So because we're relying on cup competitions for success this season, there's very fine lines with how successful our season can be. But a trophy is always nice. Getting that first trophy of the season under our belts, of the year as well, would be great. It'd give us great confidence boost. And it complete David De Gea's domestic sweep. It gives something like Rashford and the other lads that are just coming into the team another piece of silverware. So now they can think, hold on, we've won the FA Cup, we've won the League Cup. Now we need to move on to bigger and better things. And I've said this a lot about the League Cup and this season. I've referred back to Gary Neville's first season as captain when we lifted that League Cup under Fergie with Ronaldo and Rooney just breaking through. And I think it could have the same sort of influence and be a taste of success for some of these players under Jose Mourinho to make them want more at Old Trafford and want bigger and better things. So it can only be a good thing if we win it. But if we lose, I don't think it will define our season, no. But once United get to a final, you've got to expect to win it. We're Manchester United, for fuck's sake.
Right, so we've got Marcus Rashford, you just mentioned there, and it just made me think, Marcus Rashford's like 50-ish games into his Manchester United career, just go over 50 games.
52.
And it'll be 53 by Sunday, hopefully.
Which means it's 52.
He could have 2 trophies under his belt after just 50-odd games. That's a phenomenal little record for such a young player. But I'm not going to talk about him right now. We're going to talk about Wayne Rooney. Statman Daddy, Wayne Rooney. Do you think him staying is a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing for Manchester United in the longer run? And do you expect him to stay beyond the summer?
I think it's a good thing in the short term. I think like going forward to the end of the season, obviously United didn't sign anyone in January with an attacking intent, so it's absolutely perfect to keep Wayne Rooney in there. In terms of what he's done this season, he's been all right. in terms of what he's done in his United career, he's been absolutely fantastic. The 250 goals in the last 5 seasons as well. I was looking at a few stats yesterday, and in terms of assists, only Mesut Ozil and David Silva in the Premier League have managed more in the last 5 seasons. So he really has produced for Manchester United, and he's still got a little bit left in the tank. He's still got the odd performance. So let's keep him in the squad and then use him in the games where potentially Zlatan's out, or use him as a number 10 if Mickey's injured.
Comments in a second, but before I do, I'm going to come to Paul. Thoughts on Wayne Rooney, Paul? Stay, go, good, bad, experience in the dressing room? Do you think that's something we're going to need, and is that why he's being kept around, do you think?
No, I think he's being kept around because none of the metropolitan Chinese clubs have got any room in their squads in terms of the allowance. I think this deal was, it's profoundly unlikely. We talked a lot about Rooney to China a couple of weeks ago, Steve, but I think it was always unlikely that he was ever going to go there. But I think this window, it was specifically unlikely because there, as an odder thing this might sound to say, there isn't an obvious move for him in China. It's easy to just think, oh, Rooney to China as a concept, but there has to be a club with the room in their budget and their foreigner allowance there, and none of the big Chinese clubs, such as they are, have that room at the moment. So yeah, it always seemed super far-fetched, that one. As for whether it's good or bad, I think much like the League Cup win isn't going to define our season one way or another, Rooney staying or going is essentially just irrelevant now. I don't think it's a massive... But, I ran a poll on who should start in this game, and Rooney got 7% of the vote. And that's a very, very, very small percentage of fans, of a very broad community of fans with lots of different sorts of opinions on Rooney. Yeah, he's a fine option to have in the squad. It's not like he's going to be a disruptive influence behind the scenes. It seems like he's been handling this whole thing very professionally. If he stays next season, there are big questions to be asked about how he's going to handle it, because he's in a very uncomfortable situation. The club captain, who is fundamentally irrelevant to the first team.
Adam, Jose Mourinho's transitioned Rooney out of the starting 11 with the minimal of fuss. I think if this was a couple of years ago, there would have been people booting off. I think Stretford and Rooney might possibly have been kicking off as well themselves, but it seems to have been handled quite calmly by all. And do you think that's because there is a move in the future for him, or do you think he just accepts that he is no longer a starting choice at Manchester United?
Is that to me, Steve?
Yes.
All right. One thing on this whole Wayne Rooney saga, it feels very satisfying after 2010 to be in a position where we're kind of like, yeah, Wayne Rooney, you can go if you want. It doesn't matter. That feels very satisfying because of what happened in 2010. But beyond that point, I think Wayne Rooney has a decision to make now. I don't think he'll be here next season. I think I mentioned in the huge Rooney debate we did that I don't see him as a player like Ryan Giggs, like Paul Scholes, who will be happy and content with sitting on the bench for Manchester United, probably starting 1 in 5, 1 in 6 games, coming on the bench in another 2 of them. And I don't think he's one of those players that will be happy to sit around. 1, he'd have to take a wage hit. 2, I think he'll still want to play football, first team football. And I don't think that's a problem for a 31-year-old to want that. But I don't think his quality is good enough to be starting week in, week out for Manchester United anymore. We've seen what he has done when he has done that over the last couple of years now. I thought recently when he had played under Jose Mourinho, he looked to have a little bit about him that he didn't have last season, which was nice to see. But he's almost surplus to requirements, but it's up to him. He could totally change the way he is looked at by Manchester United fans. At the moment, yes, we all kind of agree he is a club legend because of what he's achieved here. Even if some people will say he's not still, they kind of know that he is. And I think he could fully nail that down if he was to say, look, I'm staying, I ain't going anywhere. I'm going to finish my career here. I'm going to see my career out. And I'm happy to help this club and help the players and be a part of it. But I just don't think he will. And I think the money will be far too big from the likes of America, China. And if it comes knocking again. And because look, his agent went to China. This isn't a Rooney came out after they made a bid to Manchester United, which was accepted, and Rooney's come out and said, I don't want to go. His agent has gone to China, so there has to be a reason why he's gone to China. He's obviously discussed the move, maybe even put feelers out to see if if the move will still be available in the summer or later on in the time. So I think he will definitely leave. And I think him saying I'm staying is just basically I'm staying till the end of the season.
Now, you're right to mention what you said. We spoke about this last night, actually, didn't we? That it would eradicate a lot of
was that the day when we met
feeling.
Eric Cantona?
Same day. There was a lot of the feeling, or we said last night, a lot of the feeling between Wayne Rooney and the fans, or a lot of the feeling about what did happen in 2010 would be eradicated if he came out and said, I will take a wage cut to whatever it takes, and I will stay and I'll do whatever I need to. I want to end my career at this club. This club means whatever to me. But he's not said that. He's never said that. He's never even indicated anything along those lines. And if he did, there would be people that don't like him would just gain so much respect for him. But he might be finished at 31 in terms of, is he the player he was 4 or 5 years ago? He's nowhere near that level. Is he going to play till he's 38, 39? No. So the end of Wayne Rooney is on the cards. It's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's coming. It's very soon. It's going to be here.
I'm very happy about it, Steve.
I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. It's coming. It's on the way. So at some point it's going to arrive. And I do think that it's going to come eventually. And I think it'd be nice if Wayne Rooney did do something along those lines. If you look at the wording of what he actually said, he just said, I'm staying at Manchester United. He didn't say, I'm staying at Manchester United and I'm going to retire. I'm not going there, this, that and the other. He sort of left the door open a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah,
I'm going to come to the comments.
But I don't think at all there should be any expectation that Rooney should sacrifice whatever first team football he's got left to stay at United to secure his status as a club legend. In fact, he's sort of almost doing the club a favour by not kicking up a fuss and stepping out. Like, we don't need Rooney's kind of the fading glory of Rooney's career. We've had enough of that over the last couple of years. He can go and, do a very useful function for a team quite a lot lower down the pecking order than us. I think he's done enough. I think we could give him a free transfer in the summer and let him pick wherever he wants to go, to be honest.
Right, I'm going to come to the comments and see what you guys are saying. Alex Roberts says, Rooney never had a connection with the fans. He's an Everton man at heart. Shanatu says, doesn't sound satisfying. It feels sad, man. Everything comes to an end. Obviously we were talking about Cantona before. Cantona walked away at 30 years of age, at the peak. Just walked away and was like, done. Yeah. MUFC 20 times says, you can see Dave doesn't want to be there. Wouldn't blame him. What's up, Daddy?
Because you keep calling him Daddy.
Rooney to Chicago, please, says Tommy.
He'll love the pizza.
Artley says, plastic trouble, here we come. Someone says you will never win the league or the Champions League. I don't know who he's talking to. That will do for the comments. We're going to hit a break. Okay, we are back from the break. Let's have your starting 11s. Adam, I'm going to come to you first. Let me know who you're going to be picking for the EFL Cup final. Who's going to be the people lifting the cup for you this week? We are playing a game while we're doing this, and you guys can play at home as well. Get your comments in and try and keep track of how many you're doing. You're behind me in the table. The current top of the table is John Shin on 48, me on 51, because I'm not accepting a 5-point deduction. That's nonsense. Statman Dave is on 38. McCullough's on 36. Andy Tate is on 25, although this isn't in order because it says Paul is on 27, so you're above Andy Tate, Paul. And then it's Mo on 14, okay. Rachel on 13, Josh is now on 10, Ben is on 8, Halves is on 4, and Greg Johnson is on 4 as well after doing 18 previews. I don't even know how he managed that, but there you go. So, Adam, give us your starting 11. Let's see what you got.
Right, and before I go into this, Wayne Rooney is not in my 11, but I hope he's on the bench. I hope if this is his last year, he gets to be part of some success. You don't want your best players going out. You just don't like them going out under a cloud like Roy Keane did, like Van Nistelrooy did. So I want Wayne Rooney to leave on a high. But anyway, moving on from that, my team is as follows. David De Gea in goal, Valencia at right back, Daley Blind at left back. I think he will stick with Daley Blind there. He's done all right recently. He hasn't given any minutes to Luke Shaw, so I can't see Luke Shaw coming in straight into a final. And I don't think Marcus Rojo will be starting at left back. So I'll go with Blind and Valencia as the fullback, which is unlucky for Ashley Young because he's played very well recently, even if Steve thinks otherwise. Centre half, I'd go with Bailly and Smalling. Remember what your old man was saying about Bailly and Rojo and them just being absolute nutters, the perfect perfect mix, and I think they are, but I think he'll stick with Bailly and Smalling at the moment. Then in the midfield, obviously, we've lost Carrick, it seems. So I would go with Herrera, Pogba, Mata, Marshall, Rashford and Zlatan.
Dave, what's yours?
I think I'm going to switch to the 4-2-3-1 that's been quite successful in recent weeks. The only big thing for me is whether Mkhitaryan's going to be fit. Mourinho said after the game against Southampton that he was definitely out, but then there's rumours today that he could be in the starting 11, and I think that'd be a massive boost for Manchester United. United absolutely carved Southampton up at home on the counter-attack. They let Southampton have the ball and just broke on them. With Henrik Mkhitaryan in there, that gives United an extra dimension. Anyway, my team, David De Gea, obviously in goal. Back four is just going to be the back four we've been playing in recent weeks. Obviously, Valencia at right back has been getting forward very well. Will cause Southampton a lot of problem down that right-hand side. Two centre-halves, Bailly and Smalling. I think that's Mourinho either goes with Jones and Rojo or Bailly and Smalling. I think that's a good combination. Like Adam was saying, Rojo and Bailly a little bit too mental together. They're a little bit too much. Both of them are going to be going for the ball. Both of them are a little bit suspect to positional issues, which obviously Phil Jones and Smalling less so. And obviously at left back, Daley Blind. I think Daley Blind's not got as many plaudits as he should do. Daley Blind has been fantastic in recent weeks. For me, he was the man of the match against Southampton. In a defensive sense, he was fantastic. He won more tackles than any United player, made more interceptions than any other player on the pitch. And that overlap for the goal, although it's a tiny thing, you see how he takes the player away, and Juan Mata has that space to put the ball in the box. So going forward, he's done well. And in terms of dealing with Southampton on the counter-attack, they break quite well down the flanks. And having someone like Daley Blind that potentially won't go as forward, will sit back and hold as sort of a third centre-back, could really give United an edge dealing with Southampton on the break. In terms of midfield, with Michael Carrick out injured, it's got to be Pogba and Herrera holding. Both those players have been pretty good in recent weeks. I like how Pogba had a controlled performance against Southampton. He didn't do anything silly. He just did everything right, and tactically was perfect. Didn't move out of his shape, held his position very, very well. Either side, I think it's of Mkhitaryan. It's going to be Juan Mata on one side and then Martial on the other, and then Big Zlatman through the middle, and that is my side.
Paul, let's hear yours for the winners on Sunday.
Yeah, well, I mean, my team would be exactly the same as Dave's if I could be confident that Mkhitaryan was going to be starting. In fact, it's funny, but as soon as Jose said definitely out, there was a little twinkle in that, I thought. It did seem just a moment where he could kind of put the cat among the pigeons in terms of people's expectations. But I'm going to go with believing our manager's word for what it's worth. And Dave in goal, Valencia right back. I think what Dave said is absolutely spot on. Mourinho thinks in partnerships at centre-backs. I asked him about this in a press conference when just before Bailly went to the Africa Cup of Nations, he picked Bailly and Smalling for the first time in weeks on end. And I asked him whether it was because he thought of the two of them as a partnership. He didn't really answer the question. He basically just said, "No, I definitely wanted to play Bailly because we were about to lose him." But yeah, so I think assuming Bailly plays, which he will, it will be Bailly and Smalling. Left back Blint for all the reasons Dave said, really. Someone added me on Twitter the other day with Dave's tweet after the Saint-Etienne game, listing all the things that Blint had done right, saying we'll not have any criticism on the podcast of Blint, because I think actually by his standards he's had quite a poor season. There's been a few pretty rough games for him, but he's coming back into form, and it seems like Mourinho thinks in form. So Blint on the left. I mean, the big fear, which I'm sure a lot of people share, is that he'll go with a 4-3-3 with Fellaini in the midfield. I think the one thing that gives me hope that he won't do that is what a disaster we were in the first half of the first leg against Saint-Etienne. My kind of abiding memory of that game is Paul Pogba standing just inside the centre circle, absolutely losing it at Fellaini and Herrera, because the organisation fell apart. We conceded 11 shots on goal in that first half because the back four were getting no protection from the midfield. So I hope with that in mind, Mourinho will go with a 4-2-3-1, Pogba and Herrera. Martial on the left, I mean, obviously. Assuming Mkhitaryan's not fit, Mata at 10 and Lingard on the right, I think is the logical choice. Not necessarily in terms of absolute quality, but I think the chances of him playing Martial left and Rashford right, that is a lot of attacking and not a lot of defensive cover. So I'd be surprised by that. And obviously, Zlatan up front, that's, first name on the team sheet these days.
I wouldn't be shocked to see Wayne Rooney played either as a number 10 behind Zlatan in a 4-2-3-1, or I wouldn't mind seeing him over Fellaini. I think he's a much better option for Fellaini if you are going to go down the 4-3-3 route, which I wouldn't be shocked to see either. I think it's interesting that both of you sort of think that there might be a little bit of mind games with Mourinho there, taking him off after 20 minutes, feel a hamstring. Mourinho is known for that sort of dark arts gamesmanship occasionally, isn't he? He's not really done it at Manchester United, so it'd be very interesting to see if Mkhitaryan is actually okay and plays, because he is an absolute ace in the hole for you in a game like this, in a cup final. I think I'd be surprised, but I'll be really happy if that's the
even
case.
Coming off the bench as well. I think Mkhitaryan would be fantastic.
Well, yeah, if you're Southampton, you watch the Europa League game and you go, whoa, Mkhitaryan's out. Park that, not thinking about him. I think that's a real interesting one. So I'm going to come to the comments again in a second, but before we do, talk to me about the opposition. We know Jose Mourinho watches this, so give him a hand and do a bit of his scouting for him. I'm going to come to you first, Daddy. Let me know who you think we need to be watching out for.
Who?
You, Daddy.
Sorry,
you,
who
Daddy.
you coming to?
Just tweet him and say, Daddy.
Well, in terms of Southampton, as I mentioned, Nathan Redmond, pace on the counter-attack, destroyed Liverpool in the semi-final. The reason was that he was using his pace and he was attacking the outside space, sort of outside of the centre halves, and then coming inside and creating and using his dribbling and his quick speed to beat the defenders. And that's something United need to be very, very wary of. Whether Herrera holds or Fellaini holds, they just need to be wary of protecting those two centre-backs from the counter-attack, because Liverpool did get caught. And obviously, I mentioned before, Daley Blind coming in, tucking in, could be a masterstroke from Jose Mourinho. In terms of other players, Gabbiadini, signed from Napoli, has looked very sharp in the Premier League. He offers something a little bit different to the likes of Shane Long and Charlie Austin. He's a bit more of a quicker-minded forward, technically very good. He's got a few skills in his locker and can put the ball onto the back of the net. So he's another player you've got to watch out for. But in terms of centre-half, obviously losing Jose Fonte to West Ham and losing Van Dijk to injury, United have got to attack those two centre-halves in there, whether it's the new lad that they brought in that was at Juve before, or it's going to be Yoshida. There's definitely avenue for attack there. The pace on the wings and maybe Juan Mata's movement could really unlock this Southampton defence.
Paul, what do you reckon? Who do we need to be watching out for, and how do you think they're going to set up against us?
I mean, they've mixed it up this season between a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3. You know, standard 21st century Premier League mixing ups. Gabbiadini's been a huge signing for them. He scored 3 goals already, in spite of having played 163 minutes in the league. Like he's been on fire, and like Dave says, he gives a completely different dimension, and one they really needed, because they needed that kind of trickery. But I mean, I think one of the things I meant to say in the 11 that I picked was that the one thing that gives me pause about selecting Daley Blind is Redmond, because he's very quick. And if you remember back to the 2-0 at Old Trafford at the beginning of the season, we were quite lucky to get out of that game 2-0. Like the fact that they created some pretty decent chances, or were just on they got close to creating some pretty decent chances. So I don't think we can take them too lightly. But yeah, Gabbiadini, key threat. Redmond's pace, key threat. And the vulnerability is obvious, isn't it? It's the fact that they've lost their centre-back pairing, which you would say was probably the strongest part of their whole team. And their creative players haven't exactly been performing this season. I'm really worried that this is like starting to drift into overconfidence at this point. They're great. They're definitely, we should be really worried. They've got loads of threats. We've got to be careful.
Adam, what do you reckon?
Well, since they beat Liverpool over 2 legs, they've had mixed form, haven't they? And I think the last 5-0 against Arsenal, the lost against West Ham maybe at home. They beat Sunderland, which everyone's doing. But they've lost a few games recently. I don't know if that's because they've had one eye on this final. And like you tend to see with a lot of teams, they get to a cup final and then the games in between, they're just really poor up until the final. So it could be the case of that. But Gabbiadini is an obvious threat, as the lads have said. And I think Van Dijk missing for them is a very big miss. I think it's as big as us missing like a Zlatan or a Pogba for them, because I think he is one of their key players. And without him, I think it will be an easier day for Zlatan. And hopefully we can play off that. But I just, with Michael Carrick out and us maybe going to a 4-2-3-1, that's what worries me, because they are so good with possession of the football. And if they win that midfield battle, I like Jordi Clasie, I think he's a mint player, then it's a bit of a worry. But I do think I hate feeling this confident, but I do think we should just beat these lot.
One of my mates is actually the strength and conditioning coach of Southampton, and they've just been away on a little bit of a training camp. I think he's a football friend. I think there's a real chance that they might be taking this a little bit too seriously. They're not taking this lightly in the slightest. He reckons this is a huge, huge, huge thing for their fans. He goes, if we win, it's probably going to be one of the biggest moments in the club's history. So I definitely think Southampton are not taking this lightly, and I don't think we should either if we want to be coming away from Wembley with a trophy. I'm going to come to you guys in the comments in a second, so give me your score predictions and who you think is going to be the key man for Manchester United. But I'm going to come to you guys and get your score predictions. Paul, what score is it going to be?
I'm going to go 2-1 United, but I think that point you made about how important it is to Southampton can't be taken lightly, because it's not season defining for us, but it's not just season defining for them. It's era defining. Southampton have done so well since they collapsed. To build themselves back up into what they've done, and even to be at this final is a massive achievement. And I talked to Alex Stewart, who's a football writer and a Southampton fan, on the podcast this week, and he was saying it would be completely enormous to them. But yeah, 2-1 United.
Dave.
Well, it's an interesting one. You say, it defines their club. They've only ever one other major trophy, and that's the FA Cup in 1976, where in fact they beat Manchester United 1-0 when they're in the second division. United are in the first division. So as we were all saying, overconfident, we've got to be so wary. This is such a massive game for them, and we need to be just on our game from the first whistle. We need to set the tempo. I think that's a big thing. When United have come out and they've set the tempo, you think some of the Europa League games at home where they just come out flying. That's how they need to start against Southampton, or Southampton will get a grasp with this game and make it very competitive. But I'm going to go with United 3-1 win.
Adam, what you reckon?
I think it might go to extra time again,
Ooh.
I think it's going to be 2-1 United. I just got this feeling. And when I get that feeling... Well, I think we're going to win 2-1.
All right, awesome. Right, some of you guys in the comments. Kelvin says Man United 3-0. Manchester United says Pogba 2 goals. Alex says not confident at all. We will win for some reason. Urkash says 2-1 United. Mata and Marshall 2-0 says Mo. Zlatan will smash it says Victor. 2-0 United says Artley. No one predicting a loss. What a surprise. No one rarely predicts a loss, do we? But anyway, thank you guys for watching us. Get your comments in below. Who's going to be key for us? Who do we need to be watching out for? And are we coming away from Wembley with Jose's first proper bit of silverware? What?
Why should people be predicting a loss? We've lost like one game in 25.
It can happen. It's one of the options. You can either win, you can lose, or you can draw, and then it goes to extra time before you decide the result. So it's on the table that it can happen. It's not like saying... something completely random, is it?
EFL champions of the world on Sunday, mate.
So anyway, get it in the comments below. Are we going to win? Are we going to lose? Is it going to extra time? Is it going to penalties? Who's going to be man of the match? Who's the one we need to watch? What have you had for breakfast? And do you agree with Iceland's Prime Minister banning pineapple on pizza? Because I think the guy's an absolute legend. We all need to move to Iceland because that's a man that knows what he's doing. Thanks for watching. See you later.